Good day traders, welcome back to our second RMDTRADER weekly market fix for the new year, and we are already starting to see some excellent technical setups forming and some even starting to play out. So please stay tuned as we have an in-depth look at what to expect for the week to come. Okay then traders, so let's have a look at the USD South African Rand. Last week we mentioned that we had this double top formation that could potentially send price towards our yearly pivot, which is also where we had some convergence from our daily 100 SMA, as well as this very large inverted head and shoulders neckline. So far this is what we've seen playing out. And also if we just look at the percentage based Fibonacci pullbacks, let's just have a look at that last move, I'd say, from this swing low over here. So if we took the Fibonacci retracement and we measure it from that swing high to that swing low, we can see we have just moved that slightly to the right so we can see it a bit better. So we can see we currently have the 50% retracement currently completed, with the 61.8% retracement coinciding with our weekly S1 and monthly S2. So at this point, and also just looking at that double top formation, let's just quickly measure that from the top of the head to that shoulder and project that down as well. We can see that also brings us towards this area over here. So that's why I'm suspecting we might still see a little bit of a pullback before that bigger inverted head and shoulders start playing out. So I'll be patient to see whether we get a better reversal in the direction of this a larger trend, or whether we will see a deeper pullback still towards this area that we've highlighted as support. Moving on to the EURUSD now. The EURUSD is still in that bearish trend. We've headed to test that daily 100 SMA. This will actually also put the trend into phase 4 as this trend is maturing. So previously we've mostly tested the 50 daily SMA, and now we've headed deeper into this pullback towards that the daily 100 SMA. So far it does look like we have a reversal, although I think we might still see one more push higher towards that area of resistance of a monthly R2 and daily 100 SMA before we see this trend resuming to the downside. On the GBPUSD front, we see something very similar with we see this very strong trend that emerged with quite a bit of momentum heading right into that daily 200 SMA, where it's currently struggling to find, also rather struggle where it is seeing some resistance. This is also one of the trade setups that we've identified. So any entry in this blue area should give you a good risk reward entry for our target sitting at the monthly S1 at 1.327, with the stop sitting somewhere between our R1 and R2 weekly pivots at 1.384. Looking at the EURGBP, the one that we've been trying to call a bottom on for quite some time, we have this falling wedge formation. You can see price is now consolidating. It's been 2 weeks now already on this area of diagonal support. There is a chance that we still see a little bit of a final move lower towards this area of a monthly S1 at 0.8319, and from there maybe then a very strong correction, which I'm hoping for, which will first see a test of this area of resistance at the wedge dynamic diagonal support at 0.845, and if we can get that into clear, we should hopefully see a move towards that target of our yearly pivot at 0.862. Looking at the GBPNZD, and for this one, what I want to look at is this diagonal, and I'll probably need to zoom out slightly. So let's just have a look at the weekly quickly. So you can see we have a diagonal overhead trend line that's been extending back for more than a decade. And at this stage, we are trading very close to that diagonal trend line. So for that reason, I am expecting a pullback. We also previously took out these previous highs that we saw in August of last year. So that is actually a bearish sign, because that is just taking all of that liquidity and all those stop orders that's sitting in this area. So maybe we get one more push higher towards our weekly R1 at 2.01. And from there, I am hoping for a pullback And let's just have a look at that Fibonacci levels again, drawing it from the highs to the lows, and we can see that we have our 38.2 coinciding with our monthly pivot at 1.964, which should be a very good first target. And then looking at our yearly pivot, perfectly coinciding with the yearly, there was 50% pullback coinciding with the yearly pivot and that daily 100 and perhaps even the 200 SMA. So there's also definitely an area to keep an eye out for over here. So let's see how that plays out. And this week I will be looking for some reversals in a bearish direction. For those who want to be a little bit more patient, you can use the 21 daily EMA as support. And once we see a break below that dynamic support, that could be a trigger for us to get into the short trade. Moving over to the AUDUSD. AUDUSD, also one of our previous trade setups. And this one just took out our stop. I think we might have been a bit too conservative with our stop, placing it too close to our daily 100 SMA, which obviously acted as resistance in this case. So perhaps a better place would have been to place it somewhere between this area of our daily 100 and monthly R1. So far, it does seem that we are looking at that reversal, although depending on how we draw this diagonal support, there could be some chance for price still pushing back higher. So for now, I think it would only be safe to get into a short trade once we clear this monthly pivot at 0.718. And once we get it close below that, I think that's when we'll start seeing that move towards this target at our yearly S1 pivot at 0.683, which will obviously take, I think, a few weeks, if not months, to be realized. But that is an indication of what we're expecting in this trend. Looking at the GBPCAD, GBPCAD is still fighting with that yearly pivot. We can see that it has technically been rejecting that level twice now. And we are also sitting at this area where we have our daily 200 SMA converging with our new weekly pivot. So at this point, any strong reversal to the downside, and especially with a close below this area of our daily 100 SMA and weekly S1 at 1.708, should be very bearish, I think, with a possible target down near the previous swing lows at the monthly S1 at 1.673. Just concluding the Forex part, the USDJPY still overall in a bullish trend, still trading above our daily 100 SMA. And the question now is whether we will still see a move lower to test that 100 SMA, or whether this will be you can see we actually have a very bullish spin bar, as we can see that shadow as price pulled back on Friday, finding some support from this level. So the question is whether we see that move down once again and only then find support, or whether we'll see some resumption of the bullish trend from here. The target remains up here in new highs at 116.9, although, like I said, it is possible we'll first see a little bit of a move down still this week. Moving on to our indices and the NASDAQ 100. Previously, we had that head and shoulders playing out at its target, which is very close to our yearly pivot at 15,075. I suspect we will most likely see this yearly pivot being tested very soon, because also that's where we have our daily 200 SMA, which haven't been tested in quite some time. I think the last time it was tested is over here in March, April of 2020. So for this week, what we need to keep an eye on, again, this 21 daily EMA. We can see we once rejected it. Good chance that we move back into it and then reject both the 21 as well as the 100 daily SMAs and that monthly S1. That would be bearish, and that will likely send price towards this yearly pivot. Looking at some commodities, and as you know, we like having a look at gold. Gold is also struggling with the yearly pivot, as with many of the other markets that we've had a look at. So it looks like it's rejecting the yearly pivot so far, but we do have very strong support in this area where we have our 50, 100 and 200 daily SMAs converging over our monthly pivot. So should price move into this area, I'm still looking for a reversal and a continuation higher. and that would see, of course, a test of the yearly pivot once again. Once we clear the yearly pivot and we get a nice strong close above those highs that we've seen previously testing the pivot, that will then send us towards the upper resistance, diagonal resistance, which would be somewhere in the line of 1,850. And finally, let's conclude by having another look at our cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. So the cryptocurrencies has been very slow and mostly consolidating over the last 2-3 weeks, depending on how we look at it. We're struggling to get back above that daily 21 EMA. As I've mentioned, I think there is a likelihood that we still test this area of our yearly 365-day moving average, daily 200 moving average, and that 50 daily moving average, as well as the new yearly pivot. So all of that sitting at about 48,000, so a major level, of course. So good chance we still tag that. But overall, it does appear that we have some form of possible head and shoulders that's been formed. And if that starts playing out, we have this target of our monthly S1 at 38,900, and then a target which I think is very likely for this year at our yearly S1 and diagonal support, which is sitting at 26,000. So 26,000 definitely something that need to be considered. And depending on how we draw our trend lines, we can see there's definitely some diagonal support at this level as well. That concludes our technical analysis and market fix for this week. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. We trust you are now well equipped to navigate the markets for the week ahead. Please consider subscribing if you like this video, and until next time, we wish you all the best for your trading, and remember, trade smart and trade successful.